brought to you by WikiVidi.com. The Moon is Blue. The Moon is Blue is a 1953 American romantic comedy film produced and directed by Otto Preminger, and starring William Holden, David Niven, and Maggie McNamara. Written by Hugh Herbert, and based on his 1951 play of the same title. The film is about a young woman who meets an architect on the observation deck of the Empire State Building and quickly turns his life upside down. Herbert's play had also been a huge success in Germany, and Preminger decided to film English and German language versions simultaneously, using the same sets, but different casts. The German film version is Die Jungfrau auf dem Dach. Cast: Johannes Heesters, Hardy Kruger and Joanna Matz. The stars of the German adaptation briefly appear in the English-language version as tourists. Kruger and Matz appear the young couple waiting to use the coin-operated telescope at the top of the Empire State Building. Cameo roles Holden and McNamara play in the German version. Production: Otto Preminger had directed the 1951 Broadway production of Hugh Herbert's play, with Barbara Bel Geddes, Donald Cook, and Barry Nelson in the lead roles. Its successful run of 924 performances prompted him to contract with United Artists to finance and distribute a screen adaptation over which he would have complete control. He deferred his producers' and directors' salaries in exchange for 75% of the film's profits. Preminger cast David Niven over the objection of studio executives, who felt the actor's career was in decline. The director cast him in a West Coast production of the play to prepare him for the film. Last of the leads to be cast was Maggie McNamara, making her screen debut in a role she had played on stage in Chicago and briefly in New York. Herbert's play had been a huge success in Germany, and Preminger decided to film English and German language versions simultaneously, using the same sets, but different casts. The director estimated this method would increase the filming schedule by only 8 to 10 days, and production costs by only 10 to 15%. The budget for both films was $373,445. It is estimated that deferred costs came to nearly $500,000. But in return, United Artists gave the producers Herbert and Preminger 75% of the profits, 20% of which they gave to William Holden. On July 13, 1951, the Breen office contacted Herbert and advised him his screenplay was in violation of the Motion Picture Production Code because of its light and gay treatment of the subject of illicit sex and seduction. On December 26, Preminger submitted a revised draft of the script which, due to numerous lines of dialogue exhibiting an unacceptably light attitude towards seduction, illicit sex, chastity, and virginity, was rejected on January 2, 1952. Contrary to later legend, the words virgin, mistress, and pregnant, all of which had been in the original play's dialogue, were not singled out as objectionable. On January 6, Preminger and Herbert advised the Breen office they disagreed with its decision and would film the screenplay without further changes. In a display of solidarity, United Artists heads Arthur B. Krim and Robert S. Benjamin amended their contract and deleted the clause requiring Preminger to deliver a film that would be granted a production code seal of approval. After 10 days of rehearsals for each of his casts, Preminger began principal photography of both films on January 21, filming an English-language scene and then its German equivalent in quick succession. Preminger later stated he much preferred The Moon is Blue to Die Jungfrau auf dem Dach, because he felt the psychology of the plot did not translate well. Filming was completed in 24 days and it previewed in Pasadena on April 8. 2 days later, Breen notified Preminger the film would not be approved. Outraged at Breen's unwarranted and unjustified attack on a harmless story, the director joined forces with UA executives to appeal the decision with the Motion Picture Association of America Board of Directors, who ruled against them. United Artists decided to release the film without the seal of approval. initially in major urban markets, where they hoped its success would encourage exhibitors in rural areas to book the film. The film premiered for an adults-only audience in one movie house in Chicago on June 22, and opened in one theater in San Francisco on June 25. One small Midwestern town only showed the movie to men and women separately. On June 30, Variety reported 3 major nationwide theater chains were willing to exhibit the film, and it went into general release on July 8. Kansas, Ohio, and Maryland banned the film, and Preminger and United Artists decided to bring suit in a Maryland court. On December 7, 1953, Judge Herman Moser reversed the state censor board. In his ruling, he called the film a light comedy telling a tale of wide-eyed, brash, puppy-like innocence. Preminger and UA then appealed in Kansas, but the Supreme Court of Kansas upheld the State Board of Review's decision to ban the film. Determined to win, the director and studio took their case to the Supreme Court of the United States, which overturned the finding of the Kansas Supreme Court on October 24, 1955. The success of the film was instrumental in weakening the influence of the production code. On June 27, 1961, the PCA granted both The Moon is Blue and The Man with the Golden Arm. Preminger's similarly controversial 1955 release, the seals of approval they initially withheld. In later years, the film was the focus of the MASH episode, The Moon is Not Blue, in which the characters, having heard about the controversy surrounding its attempt to get a copy shipped to their mobile hospital in Korea. The film actually was released in the closing days of the Korean War. Theaters in small towns in the United States would not show the film to men and women together, restricting audiences to men only or to women only. Thank you for watching. Brought to you by WikiVidi.com. Please like and subscribe below. Please like and subscribe below.